All right, welcome to my linguistic background. Yeah, so I was born in Philly. I lived there until I was about 4 when we moved up to the Poconos, this area right here on the map, in Pennsylvania. Although we were always back in Philly at least one weekend, every other month and major holidays, school breaks. The Poconos is a pretty rural area right where the Delaware River cuts through the Appalachian Mountains. Although we're not technically culturally Appalachian, we are at least geographically Appalachian. And here in Philly, my family is mostly centered up in this area in the Northeast around Pennypack neighborhood and the Home Circle area, if you're familiar. Although, my sister lives down here in South Philly with some of my cousins. We have some family here around Fishtown. I have some other cousins who live over here in West Philly, University City and Cobbs Creek. My cultural heritage, socioeconomically, I would describe us as kind of precariously middle class, definitely middle class, but both parents had at least two jobs. Dad usually had a couple side hustles going. Both of my parents come from really big families. Mom is, Italian, Irish, German, Polish, Catholic, and dad is a Muslim from, he's an Egyptian immigrant. And though we were raised in Islam, we celebrated pretty much all of the holidays, which was fun. So as you can imagine, there was a bigger emphasis on the importance of like familial ties and upholding those relationships, as well as I think both parents did a great job of modeling the importance of community support. And, we often like shared meals with our neighbors or exchanged gifts and did favors for one another. And then another value just to highlight is the importance my parents placed on education, which, double-edged sword, also created a lot of pressure around school. So I'm obviously not living at home anymore, but these were kind of the linguistic models that I had when I was growing up. From mom's side, the Philadelphia Mid-Atlantic, it's sometimes called English, very loud, a lot of expressive hand gestures. There's a lot of pronunciation vowel shifts you may or may not be familiar with, and some grammar features. And then from dad's side, obviously he learned English as a second language. And so similarly, speaks kind of loud, a lot of hand gestures. Um, I think, in Arabic and in my dad's English, there's a lot of contextual formality. People in positions of authority or like older than the speaker are treated with a lot of respect and titles. A lot of pleasantries, greetings and goodbyes take forever. And then, elder men, I grew up, all the elder men in my dad's family are really all the elder men who were Egyptian, I refer to as uncles. Women were all aunts, and anyone around my age or younger than 20 was just a cousin. Um, a lot of playful teasing and insults, obviously outside of that contextual formality. And I've noticed, my sister and I used to tease dad about his English, but only now, later in life, having learned Arabic, I can see a lot of those quirks, I guess, of his language are actually the result of influence of Arabic grammar rules and pronunciations, which has been pretty cool to discover. And what this resulted in for me, I will kind of catch myself, uh, I guess, code switching, like emphasizing those Philly vowels or using Philly terms when I'm speaking with that side of the family and kind of dropping into a register closer to my dad's when I'm speaking with his side. But for the most part, I think my normal speaking voice is pretty monotone. Sometimes I've been told I mumble. Largely, I was a huge reader as a kid, and so I think my vocabulary is pretty close to standardized English. And I've also noticed that I can have problems with volume control, like speaking louder than I realize I am, or speaking overcorrecting and speaking too quietly, and people can't quite hear what I'm saying. Which currently with my partner, it's something like what I just described. But something fun I've noticed is that she grew up in Winston-Salem. And so, grew up speaking with a Southern accent, but she has mostly kind of mostly hides it, although we'll both catch each other sliding into our childhood registers. Like she'll catch me referring to our cats as yous, or she'll drop a lawyer or a pin pen merger, and we'll kind of chuckle about that. With my friends, close friends that I've known for a long time, definitely play like a more casual register, a lot of kind of playful teasing, and I get much louder and more expressive, use a lot of gestures with them. In professional settings, I feel like I use take the effort to use intentional enunciation, and have gotten good at self-censoring. And in school, grade school through kind of now, there's a conscious attempt to elevate my lexicon, which sometimes results in an irregular pace. Is either like I have to stop and search for the right word to express what I'm trying to say, or I've like thought about what I want to say for so long that it just kind of spills out of my mouth. Um, yeah. And so responses to that, I remember in grade school, I was told a lot to kind of speak clearly so I could be understood or quiet down. Now that I've learned Arabic, my dad is getting a little bit of revenge. He teases me a lot because instead of just having a distinctive regional dialect or variation like he does, I've taken my favorite vocabulary and grammar from several regions, and so he teases me for, a mongrel dialect, I think he calls it. Um, I remember when I first joined the army, I was briefly nicknamed Professor because I talk too smart. And I feel like occasionally I can be misunderstood because I don't use a lot of tonal variation, or I feel like the words I choose aren't quite right, or perhaps, yeah, so that happens sometimes. And also very strong memory because as I mentioned, as a strong reader, I often new words from reading without ever hearing them. And so I was sometimes would mispronounce new words and get teased for that. So my anecdote, I can remember when I first met my partner's family. As I mentioned, she grew up in Winston-Salem, and both of her parents are also from the South, sort of proper church people, you might call them. And I remember being very nervous about how my speech would portray myself. At the time, I was still in the army and commonly used a very like coarse, profane, casual register. And so that entire weekend, I was using like a lot of brain power to sort of moderate my language, my tone, my volume, which ended up in me not saying more than I think 50 words for the entire weekend. Luckily, I seem to have made a good first impression, and we have gotten, or I've gotten more comfortable around them. Although I still do feel some degree of impulse to control my language. Cool. So that's it. Thanks.